having much better bedroom time just by changing a little bit about your nutrition. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to our self-help chatty book club. We are on part 5 of In the Flow by Alyssa Vitti. This part has a lot of very eye-opening information, stuff that I am dying to talk to you about. We have some things to say. And in this video, we're reading from page 200 to page 260. With the way the pages worked out in the last video, we were talking about biohacking when your hormones are out of balance and how to get them back in balance and all that stuff. I'd spoken to you about 5 steps. And then when I read on, I realized there's actually a 6th step. So that is as follows. And that's to address the emotional causes of your symptoms. Your emotions can cause legitimate physical symptoms. Like, it is all connected. I suppose if you think about it, like whenever you're scared, your heart beats faster. Whenever you're sad, you physically cry. I've always wondered about that. Like, how come because I'm sad, water starts coming out of my eyeballs? Like, what? Anyway, point being, of course, this is going to contribute to your period problems too. The author says to think of your body as having a high heart and a low heart. The high heart is where your actual heart is, and that's where you consciously process your emotions. And then your low heart is the deeper side, where it literally holds onto those deepest, darkest emotions until the high heart is ready to deal with them. So this kind of reminds me of the subconscious mind. It could be seen as high heart, low heart, if you prefer that. Things that we repress that like are just too painful to deal with, and then something triggers it, something brings it out to the open, and then we can heal through it consciously. High heart, low heart, conscious, subconscious, whatever way, I think it's kind of all the same. But say the likes of you having high stress, or there's something in your low heart that hasn't quite been processed yet, that can show up in your body as bloating, cramps, headaches, which is why it is so important to be aware of. And yeah, I talk about mindset work a lot. I do a lot of mindset work, and this just hammers that point home. Like, there are always so many solid reasons why we should absolutely take care of our mindset before even trying to tackle anything else. All right, there is a whole section on what to do if you're on hormonal birth control. As you know, I am on hormonal birth control. I have been since I was 15, which is 11 years ago now. 12 years ago later this year, I guess. And honestly, what I read in this next part was a little upsetting to me after reading the whole book so far, but let's go into it. So there's a quote that she includes, not from her, but from somebody else, and it says, "When you change your hormones, you change the version of yourself your brain creates." Honestly, when I read this at first, I was like, that is so dramatic, like, come on. But actually, when I got into it more and into this chapter, I was like, well, that is spot on. And I started to question, like, oh my God, who even am I? But essentially, hormonal birth control is a band-aid, and it doesn't address the underlying hormonal cause of any symptoms that you have. There's no ovulation, therefore there's no menstrual cycle, therefore there's no phases at all. So you're just in this gray area of no phases, no cyclical phases. Which is really frustrating after everything we've heard so far. All the details we've gone through. When I say hormonal birth control, I'm talking primarily about the pill. When you're on the pill, your estrogen is suppressed and you get a low dose of progesterone that doesn't provide enough stimulation to the brain to fully mimic the luteal phase. So you don't have that same fire to complete projects, and you may just feel a bit flat the whole time. This is a real slap in the face of reality for me. I just feel a bit dejected. Like, I feel like my bubble has been burst. Essentially, you have no access to any of the gifts of any of the phases. It's like, okay. And also, she even goes on to say that it shrinks your ovaries and your clitoris. Not ideal. No, I'm not even joking. I'm like, how would I even feel if I wasn't on the pill? Who would I be? Would I have different interests? Would I even have this business? If I allow myself to think about that too much, it's like full on identity crisis mode. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Obviously, we're all told about the side effects of being on the pill. I've never struggled with anything in particular, but there are a lot. Weight loss, weight gain, bloating, depression, anxiety, headaches, low libido, or even a whole shut down libido long term. And interestingly, decreased fertility even after you stop taking it, which is a little concerning. And this is how the pill impacts your biological systems, okay? So your brain, it changes your brain structure, your mood modulation, your neurochemicals, and the longer you're on it, some of these effects may be irreversible. Your immune system, you have a greater risk of autoimmune diseases and skin conditions. Your metabolism, weight gain, and they haven't fully figured out why. Holy shit, my neck hurts. Your hunger and satiation hormones are different, and you can hold a lot of fluids. And also, now this, I'm shook at this part, okay? You have 60% less muscle mass than those who don't go on the pill. Your ability to build muscle is not as strong, okay? And this confuses me a little bit because I, as you know, I used to be a personal trainer. I'm very into weightlifting in the gym, and I've done multiple bulk phases, aka muscle building phases, and I've built a lot of muscle. And I started weight training about 8 years now, and here is a little before and after, and I'm like, damn, if that's me functioning on the pill the entire time, I wonder how much more muscle mass I would have if I hadn't been on the pill this whole time. Moving on to the microbiome, apparently the pill is your microbiome's worst enemy. It can cause nausea, IBS, bloating, headaches, all because of the gut dysbiosis. Your stress response, you're more likely to have chronic stress and higher cortisol levels. And this all raises the question, is the pill worth it, considering you've only got like 7 fertile days in the month? After hearing all this, and you know, I'm just kind of summarizing here, I don't think so. And my issue lies with, I didn't go on the pill because of contraception. I went on the pill because it would be a band-aid for probably a hormonal issue that I was struggling with. Primary dysmenorrhea I was diagnosed with, which is like very, very, very heavy periods, and my periods would last like at least a week and a half. I'm afraid to come off it because the last time I had a real period before I went on the pill, I was in so much pain. I was vomiting, I was fainting, and I have emetophobia. I don't want to be at risk of vomiting. I have a phobia of it. So now I'm in this place where I'm like, okay, well, judging by all of this science, I want to come off the pill. I'm not even worried about the contraception part because I know there's other ways, but I'd be worried about my body. I'm very torn. Do you know what I mean? Then the book goes into, can you sync with your cycle if you're on the pill? The answer she gives is no and yes. She says you miss out on most of the gifts of your cycle, but this is how you can do it, okay? Map out on a calendar when you finish the last day of your period. Obviously, it's not real period, but your bleed. On the next day, your follicular phase starts. Follow those guidelines for 7 days. The next day, your ovulatory phase starts. You follow that for 4 days. The next day, your luteal phase starts. You follow that for 12 days. And the next day, your menstrual phase starts, and you follow that for 5 days. She just says to experiment and see how you feel, but just not to expect the creativity, the productivity, the energy, or the intuition that comes with each phase. So it is a little disappointing. Okay, then because of the way she kind of sets this up, I'm like, okay, well, how the hell do I get off the pill and not mess up my entire system? She says you can quit the pill without crazy side effects. So let's talk about that. First of all, though, she says post-birth control syndrome is real. If I didn't already have enough to worry about with the other stuff, apparently that's a thing, and I've never heard of that. She says to follow those 6 steps that we talked about before. So checking your V sign, adopting a biohacking mindset, remove endocrine disruptors, use food to fight symptoms, replenish micronutrients, and address your emotions. You follow these steps for 2 months before coming off the pill, and also let a gynecologist know before you start messing with all this. But that's essentially the guidance she gives, which is fair. I just feel like because I fall into this category, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a bit terrifying. However, we do have to move on. So The next chapter is sustainable success at work. And this brings us through even more details of each phase and your work life. So I'm going to fly through this, okay? Phase 1, follicular. Schedule most mentally challenging assignments here because of estrogen's effect on the brain. You have an increased ability to solve problems and strategize and plan. Also, your creativity is sparked here. She says to brainstorm with your coworkers for that extra creativity boost. Phase 2, ovulation. Your synaptic connections are increased. Cool, which boosts your mental sharpness, your creativity, and your communication skills. Here, she says to connect with others, have important conversations, and write a month's worth of blog posts. That could definitely make your whole month easier, which I'm so down for. Phase 3, luteal phase. Your energy begins to focus and turn inwards. You have a desire to get done and you can do more like detail-oriented work. And she does say to slow down the networking. Then phase 4, the menstrual phase. The communication between the right and left hemispheres of the brain is more powerful here. Who'd have thought it? So if you are not on the pill, then this can absolutely apply to you. So please be my guest because I don't think I'd do it for myself. Then she gives a 6-step process for cyclical planning at work. Now this is cool. Okay. Step 1, end of month review. Step 2, map out cycle phases and slot projects in accordingly to what phase, where possible. Obviously you can't do this with everything, but where you can, do it. Step 3, put in your non-negotiable deadlines wherever they fall in the cycle. Step 4, remove non-essential tasks from each phase and plan one self-care upgrade to compensate for the work that isn't in sync with your cycle. Step 5, schedule meetings and remind yourself to bring a point of view that's based on your cycle strength. Interesting. And step 6, encourage your coworkers to become aware of this as a team. Okay, so Chapter 8, get more of what you want in things and relationships. She has a 6-part plan here too. You know, I'm here for the 6-part plan. Step 1, engage 4 stages of arousal. My dad's outside. Stage 1, tumescence. This is where you've got the desire, you've got the increased blood flow to everywhere. Stage 2, I don't think I can say the word, but osmic plateau. You've got more stimulation here, your heart rate is higher, you're breathing faster, more blood flow again. And in this stage, you think you could get there, if you know what I mean. You think you could but the author says to wait. Apparently, there are massive health and hormonal benefits of just stretching this phase out a little bit longer. So it generates more oxytocin and nitric oxide, which flush cortisol, improve your period, improve your fertility, your regularity of ovulation, and your immune function. What? That's mad. With that release of oxytocin, you feel more connected to your partner, and all of this together leads to a bigger and more intense O. Her recommendation is edging for like 20 minutes twice a week. Now that's something I can listen to. Right, stage 3, the climax. So this lasts a few seconds. Your brain produces oxytocin, serotonin, DHA, and your cortisol release is put on hold. Then you have the refractory period. This is when your body returns to normal, which is pretty much straight away, except your cervix, which remains open for up to 30 minutes. And that's interesting for couples who are trying to conceive. So all of that is step 1, the 4 stages of arousal. Then we have step 2, which how is this a thing? Syncing your O with your cycle. Phase 1, follicular phase. Your cyclical focus here is novelty. Your body focus is your hormones are lower, so there may not be as much natural lubrication, if you know what I mean. The recommendation here is to use some lube. The relationship focus, get creative and try something new together. So hike a new trail, take a class. This is a bonding mechanism and it reminds you why you love this person, your partner, and that primes you for intimacy. And the bedroom focus, we'll say, in this phase is to spice things up a little bit. Who knew that these things will be different depending on what phase of your cycle you're in? How do we just go about our life ignoring what phase of our cycle we're in? This is just like insane. Phase 2, ovulation. Cyclical focus here is receiving. So your body focus is that your libido is in overdrive here because this is your fertile period. That estrogen and testosterone are surging. And here's a fun fact, you have up to 20 times more cervical fluid here. The relationship focus here is to bond and socialize with your significant other and other people, other couples, go on double dates, have a little party, whatever. It's also a good time to talk to your partner about your goals, your dreams, and what you envision together. Obviously, if you're single, you can take the general meaning of each of these things and apply it to your single life. So in this case, it would be like dating, going on a bunch of first dates when you're ovulating, because you're going to be better at communicating, and believe it or not, you're actually going to look more physically attractive to the opposite sex. Bedroom focus for this phase, more O time. She says to receive, to have your needs met, and not to feel guilty about it. Hell yeah, so down for that. Then we have phase 3, which is the luteal phase. The cyclical focus here is clarity. Your body focus is first half you are in a wet phase, and the second half you're in a dry phase, and I'm just gonna let you pick up what I'm putting down there. The relationship focus is, this is kind of an extension of how you would approach the ovulatory phase in terms of relationships. Interestingly, she actually says it's a good time to break up. Like, if you're going to be breaking up, do it at this point. However, it's also an ideal time to do like housework together, chores, that kind of stuff. So you're getting stuff done, but you can kind of make it fun and do it together, which is cute. Then the bedroom focus, she says the first half you've got a strong sex drive, and the second half it kind of goes down a little bit. So in this point, you're best suited to slower bedtime stuff, maybe more foreplay and more lube. Then phase 4, we have the menstrual phase, which is all about rest, and that is your cyclical focus, rest and recharge. Your body focus then is all about your hormones, right? So your hormones and your interest in lovemaking kind of dwindles. You might even want more physical distance from your partner, but also just before your bleed, your uterus increases in volume, and that can be pleasurable and stimulate nerve endings in the G-spot, inner labia, and clitoral legs. Guys, we're really getting hot and heavy here. I wasn't expecting to go like quite so into this. The relationship focus, honestly, it's a lot about alone time and self-care here. Read, journal, watch movies on your own, just do nice things for yourself. And also that quality solo time increases your appreciation for your partner. Let's talk about bedroom time during the menstrual phase, because period sex is so taboo, and I used to be so afraid of the topic. Like, oh god, I would never, how embarrassing. But to that, she says this: nature intends for you to be pleasured all month long. Hell yes. She says think of it as an internal massage. That's step 2, is syncing your O with your cycle. Then we have step 3, nourish your libido and O. How do we do this? Pretty much through our nutrition. All of these either directly or indirectly help your libido and help your O's, which is amazing. Okay, so B vitamins, zinc, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, probiotics, and adaptogens. You could be having much better bedroom time just by changing a little bit about your nutrition. Isn't that interesting? Step 4 is to loop your partner into your cycle. Like, let them know what phase you're in, let them know what you need more of, what you need less of, and don't just assume that they know, or that they will intuitively know how to best please you in that period of time. Step 5, tune into cycles of long-term relationships. So I don't know if this is all that important. Basically, it's like the step 1, you got the romantic courtship, which is like kind of honeymoon phase. Then you got stage 2, domestic bliss. This is where people think that they've fallen out of love, but actually it's just that your chemicals return to a more sustainable level. It doesn't mean you've fallen out of love. The reason I'm mentioning that is that was me for years. Just because the original honeymoon phase was over, I thought the relationship, there was no point in continuing. Actually, no. Our bodies just have to go into a more sustainable level of hormones and all that. Stage 3, midlife transition. And stage 4, golden years. Health issues become more common, and you're going to need a lot more emotional resilience for those kind of issues. Then we have the overall step 6. Understand how synthetic birth control dampens your libido. And I know this feels like a very drastic end. It felt like we were just kind of getting into it there. But that is all we have for video 5. That was a lot. I am a little upset about the whole birth control pill thing. is anyone else going through this now? Especially if you've been watching these videos so far, like, it just feels a bit like, oh, why did I even need to read this book if none of it even applies to me right now? But I suppose it's, now we're equipped with the information. And if you're seeing this and you're experiencing the same thing as me, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about it, because it's tough. It's tough. I really am considering coming off the pill now, but I am afraid. Very afraid. And once I do, then I think it would be pretty cool to do like a little cycle syncing vlog series. Definitely would be seeking medical advice before making any big changes like that. But that is everything. Thank you so much for watching this video. The next video is going to be the end of this book. So even though we're only on page 260 now, and the book goes until I think somewhere around the 330 page mark, that's where we're going to read to in the next video, because there's not really enough for 2 more videos, so we might as well just go for it in this one. And I will see you in the next one. Also, I know I said a while back that I vlogged my New York trip, and yes, I did. However, I am still waiting for my boyfriend to send me over some footage from that. It's better quality if we airplay, and every time I see him we just forget. So it's gotten to that point now. I will be working on that when I'm in Spain, and I'm going to Spain for the whole month of April. So that will be up soonish. And if you're not already subscribed, why the hell not? You've already made it this far in this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. Also, you definitely want to watch this.